Hey guys! Today I'm gonna showcase one of the most insane solos I've ever done, and that is Shriekwing. I've done a lot of longer solos in the past, but nothing like this one. This one required a lot of kiting, as well as having constant focus for hours. If I were to do a few missteps, or miscalculate distance on my Infernal Leap, or even if the hitboxes would screw up, I would die. I'm a bit surprised this is doable, because a lot of things had to align for it to be possible. The main ability Shriekwing does to tanks is Sanguinating Bite only at a 20 yards range. Shriekwing will also stand still while casting it. It is unusual for bosses to have this small range on their main ability, but thanks to that, he is kiteable. Okay then, how about Berserk? Well, he does have one after 8 minutes, but his Berserk only increases physical damage, not magic. Neither will it increase his movement speed, like for example Hungering Destroyer. He is however, passively 50 or 60% faster than your standard movement speed, and will catch up to most classes. Except Demon Hunters. Demon Hunters, while gliding, move 79% faster. I also got a movement speed build and low eye level boots to make me move at 130% baseline movement speed. The outline of the room makes it so he will cut you off, but Vengeance Infernal Leap with the talent Abyssal Strike only has a 12-second cooldown, which is perfect to be able to avoid him. Well, that is unless you fail with it. The blood pools on the ground will thankfully disappear over time, and his other magic damage from Wave of Blood won't deal much damage because it ain't increased by Berserk. He does have one painful ability, and that is when he descends upon you after echolocation expires. This has a huge chunk of physical damage, and he casts it quite often. I knew about this solo being possible for a while, but I lacked the healing to survive it, since Vengeance Demon Hunters need to be in melee range to use most of their healing. That was until patch 9.0.5, when they changed Demon Hunter Necrolord ability, Father to the Flame, to randomly spawn a demon that heals you for a massive 25% HP when you kill it, as well as buffing Fleshcraft to 40%. Changing to Necrolord, along with using my defensives wisely to prevent damage taken, was enough to keep me alive at range. Well, how about my damage done? Vengeance isn't meant for doing range damage either, so I had to get DPS trinkets to speed up the process. Originally, I only had one DPS trinket, the Dreadfire Vessel, since I wanted my other trinket to be Sanguine Vintage for survival. The time of the solo would be about 3.5 hours. Ultimately, I decided to cut down on my survival and remove the Sanguine Vintage to use another DPS trinket, the Skalka Wing, which would drop the time down to 2.5 hours. It was a choice between 2.5 hours of intense combat, since the boss ability damage would be lethal if I didn't use my defensive correctly, or 3.5 hours of my survival being completely fine, unless I lost focus when kiting, and got hit by a bite. For my legendary, I tried Judgment of the Arbiter, but it wasn't worth it because Frogglaive isn't able to proc it for some reason. So the legendary I went with was Spirit of the Darkness Flame, which thankfully got fixed last week. It was bugged before, since the patch, and didn't do any healing. Every 45 seconds, you get a tiny bit of rest. That is when the boss casts Ear-Splitting Shriek. This is a needed opener to use Skulker Wing, as well as channeling Fleshcraft or reapplying weapon oils. Phase 2 is no longer active during Berserk, which means there will be no real downtime, so you need constant focus for hours without break. Good news, however, is that you're allowed one fail every 8 minutes thanks to Last Resort. It does save you, but you can still die shortly after if you ain't lucky with demon procs, or if you're out of defensives. As you can imagine, it was a real challenge having to keep focus for 2.5 hours, with quite a lot of wipes practicing to get the muscle memory down, as well as the pathing. If you wanna see the full solo, I'll have a link in the description. I'll also add a list of other consumables I used. Hope you guys enjoy the solo, and stay tuned for more.